Imagine being under the microscope of the most elite investigative force in the nation, where every keystroke, phone call, and transaction is dissected by experts trained to uncover even the faintest trace of wrongdoing. For years, they moved in silence, gathering data, cross-referencing timelines, tailing shadows you didn't know you cast. But instead of a trap, they built a testament. What emerged wasn't a case file filled with damning evidence, but a dossier of integrity. Their mission to expose deception only illuminated your truth. In a world where many collapse under scrutiny, you remained unshaken, proven not by your words, but by their exhaustive pursuit of the facts. What looked like random moments were actually threads in a divine tapestry, each one woven with precision by unseen hands. The unmarked car that lingered at the end of your street, the neighbor who suddenly asked peculiar questions, the social media request from a stranger with no mutuals. None of it was by chance. These were signals cloaked as surveillance lessons disguised as suspicion. The highest powers didn't just monitor your life, they unknowingly documented your resilience, your integrity, your light under pressure. What was meant to expose flaws instead confirmed purpose, because the universe doesn't orchestrate chaos, it reveals alignment. They weren't just watching, they were studying the frequency you emit, the way your presence subtly shifted the atmosphere when you entered a room, the unspoken power in your silence, the way your spirit refused to dim even under suspicion. They moved through your orbit like shadows, like whispers collecting truth. In moments, you thought no one noticed the librarian who smiled too knowingly, the rideshare driver who took the long way home, the jogger who never seemed out of breath. Each played a role in a quiet operation of redemption, not to condemn, but to confirm that you are who you've always claimed to be, chosen, resilient, and impossible to fabricate. Every false accusation, every whisper campaign, every trap set in shadows has been logged, cataloged, and sealed in a divine archive. Nothing has gone unnoticed, not the forged narratives, not the silent betrayals, not the staged misfortunes they thought they were dismantling your name, but they were actually strengthening your legacy. Each attack became a data point, each smear, a timestamp, every plot, a piece of evidence. The case being built isn't just for your defense, it's for your elevation, and when the unveiling arrives, it won't be with noise, but with undeniable precision. The truth will walk in dressed in irrefutable clarity, and there will be no room left for denial. What they meant for character assassination became the raw footage of your vindication. Every slanderous word is now archived, every manipulated narrative countered by timestamps and audio, every staged breakdown exposed as premeditated strategy. They weren't watching to condemn, they were collecting the receipts that would one day silence every lie. The surveillance wasn't a sentence, it was a safeguard, a living record of your endurance and grace under fire. The more they tried to frame you, the clearer your authenticity became, because when the truth is under divine protection, even deception becomes evidence of your light. Those sudden shifts in energy, the unexplained tension in familiar spaces, the doors that quietly closed without confrontation, they were all part of a meticulously crafted illusion, a psychological operation meant to erode your sense of belonging and destabilize your inner compass. But what they didn't anticipate was your spiritual fortitude, your refusal to collapse under manufactured chaos while they deployed whispers and seeded doubt. Your higher self stood unmoved, watching the false fall away. What they called isolation was actually sanctification, a sacred clearing, making room for truth to return unfiltered, and for your tribe, the real one, to find you. What they failed to grasp is that every move they made against you triggered a deeper layer of divine surveillance. Every smear campaign activated watchers in higher realms, every lie sent into the atmosphere was magnetically pulled into a record far beyond human tampering. Timelines were mapped, patterns, exposed connections, traced back to the architects of your defamation. They thought they were burying you beneath suspicion, but they were only burying themselves beneath the weight of undeniable evidence. And as you rose, each attempt to derail, you only confirmed the truth they tried so hard to hide, that your light threatened the systems built on illusion. Every silent cry encoded in your keystrokes, every desperate attempt to find clarity through a search bar, every message sent into the void hoping someone, anyone, would see the truth was never lost. Your pain left a trail of data imprinted with sincerity and spiritual distress, while the world dismissed your instincts as overreactions. Investigators traced those fragments like sacred scripture, uncovering the architecture of your sabotage. Your higher self never lied, it only whispered louder. When the lies around you tried to drown it out, and now the digital echoes of your suffering have become a map, leading straight to the source of your persecution and the throne they tried to keep you from claiming. They moved in arrogance cloaked in false anonymity, believing burner accounts and private chats would keep their hands clean. But energy doesn't lie, and the digital realm remembers everything: their laughter at your pain, their screenshots passed around like trophies, their late-night group messages strategizing your downfall. They all shimmered like warnings on the monitors of those assigned to uncover truth. While they thought they were erasing footprints, they were actually engraving confessions into eternity. And now those records exist not just in servers, but in the court of divine justice, where every intention is weighed and no mask can survive the light. Those technological hiccups you once cursed were actually divine firewalls, slowing down sabotage long enough for truth to be preserved. Every undelivered message was intercepted, not lost every dropped call, a safeguard against planted distortion. Your voice wasn't being silenced. It was being shielded, your digital steps rerouted, so that your evidence remained untainted and traceable. The system bent not to break you, but to fortify the timeline in your favor. And what you mistook for interference was actually intervention, a higher protocol, ensuring that when the time came, every receipt would still be intact, glowing with the fingerprints of your vindication. What they failed to realize was that every intrusion, every breach, every digital assault they launched was not a crack in your armor, but another thread in the ever-expanding tapestry of your truth. Each keystroke they sent to sabotage you was recorded not as an act of aggression, but as proof of their own desperation. Their every hack, every attempt to steal your narrative, only strengthened the case against them. Their efforts to shut you down were documented with cold precision and added to the dossier that would one day reveal the full extent of their malice, not just to the world, but to the higher powers who had been watching from the beginning. In their ignorance, they thought the tools they used to track, control, and suppress you would remain their shield, but the very technology they manipulated became their undoing, like a mirror reflecting their every move. It recorded each secret conversation, each subtle obstruction, each whispered word of sabotage as undeniable evidence etched in digital stone. Investigators peeled back the layers, watching in real time as doors meant to open for you were slammed shut by unseen hands. They saw how they tried to strangle your opportunities, financial, professional, personal, and how those attempts left fingerprints on every transaction, every application, every rejected offer. Their plot wasn't as clever as they thought. The digital realm saw it all, and it would not forget. They believed the pressure would crack you, that the weight of financial ruin would bring you to your knees, but they underestimated the fire that burned within you. Each setback became a stepping stone, each loss transformed into a lesson. While they thought they were weakening you, you were recalibrating, finding new paths, creating new opportunities, turning scarcity into abundance with nothing but faith and ingenuity. Your ability to thrive despite their calculated efforts was a testament not just to your survival, but to your unwavering spirit. It was all recorded, logged into the very case file they thought would expose your fragility. Instead, it revealed your unbreakable will, your capacity to evolve, and the extraordinary power you possess to rise above every attempt to limit your growth. Every dollar withheld, every opportunity stolen, every financial loss has been meticulously cataloged in the cosmic ledger, and what they failed to understand is that nothing is truly lost. The scales of justice, though slow in their unfolding, are never off balance. What they thought would break you has only strengthened the current of your eventual abundance. Like a river forced to flow beneath the surface, its energy has been quietly gathering, building force. Now, when the dam finally bursts, it will not be a trickle but a torrent, a flood of prosperity and restitution, rising to meet you with the full force of years of unrecognized potential, compensating you in ways beyond material wealth for your perseverance and the strength of your spirit. Chosen ones, before we move on, I want you to pause for a moment and take action. Subscribe to the channel and share this message with those who need it. This isn't just another message, it's a divine interruption, a cosmic invitation calling you higher. You've outgrown the shadows of hesitation and the silence of playing small. The storm that once shook you has become the wind beneath your wings. You are no longer the seeker, you are the spark, the signal, the shift. As you awaken to your divine assignment, remember, your light was never meant to flicker, it was meant to blaze. And in this sacred unfolding, every word you speak, every move you make becomes a prophecy fulfilled. The time to wait has passed, the time to rise is now. Walk forward with fire in your eyes and thunder in your soul. Welcome to the next dimension of your purpose. Welcome to the movement of the Lumination Inner Order. Those seemingly random moments of interaction were far from chance. They were intricately designed encounters, each one a puzzle piece in a larger picture you couldn't yet see. The stranger who bumped into you on purpose, spilling their drink with uncanny precision, wasn't clumsy. They were an observer, testing your patience, your composure, your response to inconvenience. The shifting project requirements were no accident either, but a subtle probe into your resilience, your ability to adapt without losing your integrity. The neighbor who suddenly wanted to be your best friend after years of distance. They were no mere social enthusiast. They were a carefully positioned figure in a quiet investigation, observing your trustworthiness and your boundaries. Some of these encounters were designed by those who sought to manipulate, while others were placed by the unseen hands, working to verify your truth, ensuring that every move you made, every decision you took, was preserved in the tapestry of your authenticity. In those quiet moments when you felt unseen, you were being watched more closely than ever. Every time you chose grace over retaliation, when your silence spoke louder than their provocations, it was noted as a testament to your character. The moments you thought no one was paying attention, those subtle refusals to lower your standards, to give in to the temptation of revenge, were the very moments that defined your integrity. The awkwardly personal question during the interview, the pushy romantic inquiry, the stranger who tried to provoke division with carefully chosen words, they were not coincidences. Each was a deliberate test, a measuring of your spirit, your resolve, your refusal to compromise your truth. These encounters, seemingly insignificant, became milestones on the path of your protection, each one adding weight to the unshakable foundation being built beneath you. They believed pressure would break you, that the heat of their trials would scorch your essence. But they underestimated the transformative power of adversity. Like gold, refined in the hottest flames, your character has been purified, strengthened, and now shines with an iridescence that no darkness can diminish. Every challenge, every false accusation, every orchestrated setback has only served to illuminate the core of who you are, revealing a truth that is undeniable and untouchable. What they tried to use as a weapon against you has instead become the very proof of your unshakable integrity. You are not only intact, you are radiant, an unstoppable force of authenticity, and no amount of fabricated evidence can ever obscure the brilliance of your truth. That unexpected ally who stepped in during your moments of doubt, always there with a listening ear, always offering support in ways that felt almost too timely. What seemed like serendipity was actually a delicate orchestration. Their probing questions, the subtle yet persistent interest in your life, weren't just signs of concern or curiosity, but calculated efforts to assess your vulnerabilities. Some of them were positioned to extract your deepest truths, to twist them into weapons against you later. But others, those whose presence felt like a quiet shield, were placed by those watching over you, tasked with safeguarding your integrity, monitoring unseen threats, and ensuring that no harm would come from those who sought to exploit your struggles. In the labyrinth of your challenges, they were the hidden guardians, weaving through your life with a purpose that remained just beyond your comprehension. As you navigated the ebb and flow of daily life, there were figures whose presence seemed too intentional, too precise to be random. The acquaintance who knew your struggles before you voiced them, the colleague who always seemed to turn up in your favorite spots, the neighbor whose eyes lingered a little too long as you came and went. These weren't just bystanders or casual onlookers. They were agents, some sent to weave webs of misinformation, others placed to quietly shield you from unseen dangers. Each interaction, each seemingly innocent exchange, was part of a larger strategy unfolding just beneath the surface. Their roles, whether to distract or protect, were designed to guide the path of your truth while keeping your adversaries in the dark. Behind their smiles and casual conversations, they were the unseen threads in a much larger tapestry, executing their duties with an elegance that hid their true purpose from your view. They thought they controlled the game, but what they failed to grasp was that their own moves were being countered from within. The allies they trusted most, the ones they believed were securing their victory, were actually the very ones feeding critical information back to those working in the shadows to protect you. Every calculated move they made, every step they took to entrap you, was mirrored by a silent force gathering intelligence, shifting the balance in ways they couldn't perceive. The cosmic chessboard on which they played was vast and intricate, with strategies unfolding at a level they couldn't comprehend. You weren't just a pawn in this game. You were the ultimate prize, the center of an unseen war where every move, every sacrifice was made to ensure your ultimate victory, no matter how deeply hidden the forces were that guided you toward it. There were moments when your instincts flared, whispers in the back of your mind urging you to pay closer attention to the things that didn't add up. The person who showed too much interest, yet revealed too little of themselves. The friend whose story shifted when pressed for details. The coworker whose innocent questions felt too calculated, too precise in their probing. It was as if something beneath the surface was trying to tell you the truth. Your higher consciousness understood what your conscious mind couldn't quite grasp. Your reality had been subtly infiltrated, and you were at the center of a conflict far deeper than you realized. Those close to you, those who should have been your support, were the targets of forces both malevolent and protective, trying to manipulate your connections, break your sense of trust, and isolate you from your strength. When the ones you relied on suddenly distanced themselves, it wasn't just the natural ebb of relationships, it was a deliberate, strategic attack designed to weaken the foundation of your support system, to make you question everything, even your own perception of reality. They knew that when a person is alone, they are most susceptible, easier to sway, easier to deceive. So they set to work weaving threads of doubt to the fabric of your relationships, subtly planting seeds of suspicion and uncertainty where there was once trust. The whispers, the half-truths, the quiet manipulations, they all served the same purpose: to isolate you, to make your connections seem fragile, to erode the support that kept you grounded. Every conversation twisted, every lie embedded into the narrative, pushed your loved ones further away until the very people who once stood beside you became strangers in your own life. They believed that by severing these ties, they could weaken you, break you down until you were left questioning everything and everyone. What they didn't understand was that true connection isn't so easily undone, and even in the deepest isolation, the truth would eventually find its way back. The pattern was unmistakable, the deliberate unraveling of your closest bonds woven with precision and intent. Investigators watched as each disruption played out, noting the meticulous timing of every act meant to tear down the connections you relied on. Anonymous messages designed to poison the minds of those closest to you, stories spread by mutual friends with just enough truth to sound plausible, whispered doubts planted in the hearts of romantic partners. All were part of a calculated assault on your sense of belonging and trust. What they failed to realize was that every move they made, every calculated breach of your relationships, was being recorded, examined, and added to the growing mountain of evidence against them. These disruptions, born of malice and deceit, were not just signs of an attack, They were the echoes of a larger strategy, one that would ultimately reveal the depth of their campaign and the strength of your resilience. Cosmic justice demanded you see it, demanded you understand that these betrayals were not random. They were part of the very fabric of the battle, unfolding around you. The isolation they tried to impose on you wasn't just a feeling. It was a carefully crafted strategy, executed with precision and intent. Every attempt to cut you off from your support system was documented, traced back to its orchestrators by those who were watching from the shadows. The texts that made your friends question your intentions, the phone calls filled with concern but laced with subtle manipulation, the information fed to your closest allies to turn them against you, all of it was captured, preserved, and analyzed by those working to expose the truth. They thought their manipulation would go unnoticed, but each action, each deceptive move, was woven into the tapestry of evidence that would one day reveal their true intentions. What they never anticipated was that the very isolation they sought to impose on you would only serve as fuel for the reckoning that is now on the horizon, a reckoning they will not be able to escape. Despite the relentless attacks on your relationships, there were bonds that endured, unwavering beneath the weight of the storm. These connections, forged through true spiritual recognition, withstood the external forces that sought to tear them apart. Though they may have been tested, strained, and momentarily clouded by doubt, they could not be severed, for the essence of these connections transcended the manipulations. The depth of soul-to-soul understanding cannot be undone by mere disruption. It is anchored in something far more enduring. These connections, though temporarily shaken, remain steadfast, because when the heart truly recognizes another, no force can break the invisible thread that binds them. In the end, these are the relationships that will rise above, more resilient than ever, as the fabric of truth and loyalty is woven stronger by the trials faced. The forces that sought to discredit your reality extended far beyond mere emotional manipulation. They infiltrated your very health, creating a shadow of doubt over your body's truths. The unexplained symptoms that flared during your most vulnerable moments, the doctors whose dismissive attitudes planted seeds of uncertainty about your own experience, and the medical records that seemed to vanish into the ether, all of it was part of a larger scheme to destabilize you. Appointments that slipped through the cracks, referrals that disappeared into the void, and treatments that caused reactions that defied explanation were not random misfortunes. This was not a broken system or a series of unfortunate coincidences. It was deliberate interference, a carefully orchestrated attempt to gaslight your very physical existence. The aim was clear: to make you doubt not only your mind, but your body, to convince you that your own reality, your own truth, was nothing more than an illusion. Investigators watched closely as the psychological assault against you extended into your healthcare journey, each step meticulously documented. They noted how your symptoms, despite being unmistakably clear, were often dismissed, as if the very legitimacy of your suffering was being erased. Your medical records, which should have been easily accessible, would inexplicably vanish at the most critical moments, leaving you in a state of uncertainty when answers were within reach. The insurance claims meant to cover necessary treatments would mysteriously be delayed or denied, as if there was an invisible hand sabotaging your access to care. These deliberate obstructions were not mere errors or coincidences. They were part of a concerted effort to undermine your health, to create doubt in your mind and in the minds of those who could help. The investigators, however, saw through this web of interference, documenting every attempt to derail your medical journey as another piece of the puzzle, another clear indication that the battle against you was being waged on all fronts. The toll of the relentless targeting began to carve itself into your very being, as your body became the battleground for the mental and emotional warfare waged against you. The constant headaches, the restless nights that stretched into endless insomnia, the digestive issues that seemed to appear without cause, and the unexplained pains that traveled from one part of your body to another. They were not figments of your imagination, but real, physical manifestations of the stress that had been forced upon you. Yet, when you sought medical assistance, you found yourself met with an unsettling resistance, as if the system itself was unwilling to acknowledge the depth of your suffering. Doctors seemed dismissive, tests came back inconclusive, and the more you sought help, the more your experience was minimized. It wasn't just poor health care. It was an act of denial, an external force that sought to further invalidate your reality, leaving you questioning not only the world around you, but even the truth of your own body. What cosmic justice demands you understand is that every bruise, every ache, every sleepless night caused by the unseen forces at work against you was not in vain. These medical trials, though harrowing, became integral pieces of your case file, irrefutable proof of the lengths to which others went to destabilize you. The toll on your health, the physical manifestations of relentless psychological torment was meticulously recorded, measured, and documented. Each symptom you endured was not just an isolated event. It was a part of a larger narrative that paints the full picture of the attack against you. These records, carefully compiled by those who understand the gravity of your journey, will one day stand as undeniable evidence, testament to the depth of the manipulation you faced, and a key component in revealing the true scale of the injustice you've withstood. What you may have initially perceived as social shifts or coincidences were, in reality, carefully orchestrated acts of exclusion. The community groups that once welcomed you now seem to subtly close their doors. The neighbors who once exchanged pleasantries now avoided your gaze as if you had become a stranger. The businesses that you frequented, where you were once met with warmth, now seem to offer only cold indifference. Even in places where you sought spiritual connection, longtime friends turned their backs, their avoidance seemingly inspired by whispers they had never shared with you. Parent groups, where you had once felt camaraderie, now left you mysteriously uninvited. This wasn't the ebb and flow of social dynamics or a shift in personal preferences. It was an intentional, orchestrated excommunication, a strategic effort to isolate you from the very support systems that provided you with a sense of belonging, to sever the ties that once affirmed your place in the world. Every small act of distancing, each cold shoulder, was part of a calculated campaign to strip away the networks of validation and connection you had relied on. What your persecutors failed to understand is that every move they made, every person they influenced, left a trail, one that could not be erased or hidden from those who knew how to see. What appeared to be isolated personal decisions to withdraw or avoid you was, in reality, part of a larger orchestrated effort, a campaign that followed a meticulous pattern. The timing was too precise, the language too consistent, the tactics too identical to be random. When viewed through the lens of cosmic justice, these small, seemingly unrelated acts of distancing came together as a cohesive whole, revealing the true nature of the attack against you. Those investigating, equipped with the right perspective and tools, were able to discern this hidden pattern, tracing the invisible strings that connected each action back to its orchestrator. This was no random ebb and flow of human behavior. It was a deliberate attempt to break your connection to your community, and the evidence, when seen in its entirety, painted a picture too clear to be ignored. Your intuition, ever sharp and attuned to the subtleties of the world around you, recognized the strange, unsettling shift before your conscious mind could fully process it. Something unnatural was at play, weaving through your community spaces like an invisible thread, tugging at the fabric of your connections. The change was too abrupt, too all-encompassing to be brushed off as mere coincidence. Relationships that had once felt genuine and warm now began to chill with eerie synchrony, as if the very atmosphere had been altered. It wasn't just the coldness that struck you, it was the eerily familiar patterns of behavior. The same concerns, the same pointed questions, coming from different people, across different social circles, people who had no reason to be connected. It was as though they were reading from the same script, speaking the same language, and you could feel it, the web of influence tightening around you. Your intuition knew this wasn't natural. It was the unmistakable signature of a calculated effort to orchestrate division, to turn once trusted allies into distant figures, all for the purpose of isolating you. Even when the evidence was elusive in the physical realm, Your higher self could sense the unseen forces at play, forces that manipulated your professional life with a precision that could not be ignored. The subtle but undeniable shift in workplace dynamics wasn't just the ebb and flow of office politics, it was something more insidious. Tensions flared without explanation, and performance reviews, once aligned with your evident dedication, now felt like a distortion of your true contributions. Colleagues who had once shared ideas and camaraderie suddenly distanced themselves, their behavior inexplicably shifting after private conversations with management. Promising projects that once aligned with your strengths were suddenly taken from your hands, and a promotion that seemed within reach was awarded to someone less qualified, someone whose abilities paled in comparison to your own. This wasn't just the usual unpredictability of a competitive work environment. It was targeted, orchestrated professional sabotage meant to erode your economic stability and leave you questioning your own abilities in the very field you had once excelled. Your spirit knew the truth, even if the physical world had yet to catch up. This was not a natural course of events. It was a deliberate effort to undermine your confidence and disrupt your path. Investigators observed the unsettling pattern that began to emerge in your professional life. Each employment opportunity seemed to unfold perfectly, your hard work and dedication shining through, only to be derailed when you reached a crucial point of success. It was as if an invisible hand pushed you back just when you were about to break through. Unforeseen obstacles, unreasonable demands, unexplained delays, and sabotage materialized out of thin air, preventing you from reaching your full potential. What your attackers failed to realize was that this was not mere bad luck. The investigators tracked the communications between your persecutors and those in positions of influence within your professional sphere. These records revealed an unholy collaboration, with efforts to disrupt your career and tarnish your reputation laid bare. They had orchestrated this campaign to prevent you from thriving, to keep you down. But the cosmic irony that your attackers never comprehended was that each attempt to hold you back only strengthened the case against them. Their sabotage became the very evidence that would one day expose the full extent of their orchestrated effort to destroy your success. The systematic interference with your career trajectory became one of the most undeniable pillars of evidence in your case, an irrefutable testament to the deliberate nature of their actions. The stark contrast between your treatment before and after their interference was striking. What had once been professional recognition turned into unwarranted criticism. Your performance evaluations, once aligned with your consistent excellence, suddenly plummeted without cause, as if the very metrics of your success were rewritten by unseen hands. Projects that had once showcased your strengths were abruptly taken from you, despite your proven capability and clear results. This sequence of events, marked by an eerie consistency, couldn't be chalked up to normal workplace dynamics. It was a coordinated effort to erase your progress, a pattern so deliberate and unmistakable that no amount of rationalization could hide the truth. Your professional path was being sabotaged, and each misstep was captured and added to the growing mountain of evidence against them. Your professional instincts, honed by years of experience, quickly pinpointed that these obstacles were not the result of random misfortune. The timing of each setback was too precise, the justifications for your exclusion too abstract, the patterns of interference too uniform across various employment environments. Deep within, your higher self saw what your conscious mind could not yet fully articulate: the unmistakable fingerprints of a systematic effort to thwart your success. Despite the obstacles, the evidence gathering continued, each moment, every injustice meticulously documented. Now the case file is more substantial than you ever could have imagined, an intricate tapestry woven with undeniable proof. Soon the weight of your experiences, the hardships you've faced, and the resilience you've shown will be brought into the light, validated in ways that leave no room for doubt. The truth will stand unshakable, a testament to your journey through the storm and into the truth that awaits. The fog of deception will dissipate, revealing the intricate web of manipulation that once seemed impenetrable. The truth, long obscured, will rise to the surface, undistorted and undeniable. Every careful step taken during this exhaustive investigation was necessary to unravel the elaborate layers woven by those who sought to conceal their actions. Your persecutors were cunning, masking their intentions behind a veil of plausible deniability, operating through intermediaries, and crafting scenarios that appeared coincidental. But those who sought to deceive underestimated the patience and resolve of those committed to uncovering the truth. The investigation, slow but steady, pierced through the illusion, revealing the pattern that tied every event together. Now, as the wheels of cosmic justice grind inexorably forward, their efforts to control and suppress will crumble, leaving only the unassailable clarity of truth standing in its place. The truth, once veiled in shadow, will surge forward with unstoppable force, pushing aside every attempt to conceal it. It carries with it an undeniable power, a force that draws all things hidden into the open, where they can no longer remain in the quiet corners of deception. What was once murmured in secrecy will echo loudly across the world, its resonance reverberating through every heart and mind. What was carefully concealed will now be exposed in such brilliance that it cannot be ignored, and the darkness will no longer have the strength to hold it back. You knew this moment would come. The quiet certainty deep within you was never wrong. Now the truth you sensed all along rises, undeniable and clear, to stand in the full light of day. The pieces of the puzzle that once eluded your understanding are now falling into place with a clarity that can no longer be ignored. Those subtle nudges, those whispers of truth you felt but couldn't fully grasp, now stand before you in bold relief. Your higher self, ever watchful, understood the grand design even when you could not, seeing beyond the smoke and mirrors to the deeper orchestration of the forces at play. Every trial, every setback, every moment of confusion was never random. It was all part of a divine sequence, a test of resilience, but also a test of timing. The moment for your vindication draws nearer, not because of your efforts alone, but because the universe has aligned every element for your moment of reckoning. Justice, when it arrives, will not simply be a result. It will be an affirmation, a cosmic declaration that no one and nothing can undo. The fabric of your truth has been woven through time, and now it stands as the foundation upon which your legacy will be built. The trials you faced were not mere obstacles, but rites of passage, each one molding you into the being capable of withstanding and transcending what others might crumble under. Every wound inflicted upon your spirit became a testimony, every betrayal a stepping stone toward your emergence. What they sought to break, the universe intended to strengthen. Like the deepest roots that grow strong in the darkest soil, the evidence of your perseverance has been silently nurtured, now preparing to rise into the open. The cosmic forces, once working behind the veil, are now converging, and soon they will reveal the intricate design that has unfolded in secret. Your struggles, once shrouded in silence, are on the verge of being shouted from the heavens, and the truth that seemed distant will now be undeniable. What was meant to be your destruction will instead become the catalyst for your ascension. The strength you summoned during the loneliest of nights when all seemed lost has left an indelible mark on the universe. Every step you took, though it felt heavy, was guided by unseen hands, and every decision to stand firm in your truth was etched into the fabric of destiny. The trials you faced, designed to fracture your spirit, only refined it, making it unbreakable. Those who sought to undermine you will soon see their plans unravel, for the foundation of your resilience is now being acknowledged by those who hold the power to restore all that was unjustly taken. The silent witnesses of your journey are now ready to step forward, and the forces that have worked in the shadows will bring forth the undeniable evidence that will clear your name, heal your wounds, and elevate you to the place you were always destined to occupy. The final moments are drawing near, and the cosmic forces align to bring forth the truth that has long been concealed. The weight of injustice, once pressed upon you, will now be the very substance that propels you into a new realm of understanding and power. What was meant to break you will instead fuel your ascension. Your journey through the fire has tempered your spirit, and you will rise from these trials not as you were, but as something greater, something unshakable. Every moment of suffering, every attempt to silence your voice, has laid the groundwork for this monumental reckoning. The world will soon witness the fullness of your story, the hidden struggles, the silent victories, and the undeniable strength that was always within you. Your vindication is no longer a distant dream. It is an unfolding reality, one that cannot be ignored or denied by anyone.